The Urkel Dominion had ruled for centuries, moving from one star system to another, crushing any resistance in their path. Their fleets were fast, their weapons advanced, and their pride unmatched. They believed no species could stand in their way, but on the far edge of the Milky Way, near the dark cloud of the Varelian Nebula, they found a strange silence. This region of space held no records in the Dominion's files. No known civilizations, just a group of stars long left ignored. Yet, the sensors had picked up signs of energy use, strange signals, and artificial structures. High Command sent a scout fleet, 5 ships strong, equipped with stealth gear and command drones. The ships vanished within 2 standard days. No signals, no data, just silence, back on Earth. Captain Laura Mitchell stood inside the warship Ironheart. Her ship had no flag, no official records, and no support from Earth's public channels. Only a small group within Earth's defense network even knew it existed. She was calm, standing on the dark bridge, the glow of screens lighting her face, her second command. Lieutenant Jason Cole sat beside her, scanning incoming data. "That signal again," he said. "Same pattern, approaching slow, trying to hide." Laura nodded slowly. "It's not the first time they've sent scouts." Jason looked up. "You think they'll come in force this time?" "Yes," she replied. "They always do when they think they smell fear." The Urkel did not know that humanity had been watching them long ago. Satellites hidden in deep space picked up their war trails. Humanity stayed quiet, studied their ships, their language, their tactics. The humans built defenses in silence. Not around cities, but around shadows. They placed cloaked satellites in regions no one visited. They created ships like Ironheart, built for ambush, for information warfare, for quiet victory. Jason brought up a 3D map of space. A cluster of bright red dots moved toward the Tyros system, which was barely a cluster of rocks orbiting a dying star. "That's the path," he said, 4 days out. Based on their engine trails, Laura turned, speaking to the rest of her small crew. "Begin silent movement protocols, disable external signals, reroute all power to stealth and long-range scans." Ironheart glided through the black sea of space, nearly invisible to any known sensor. It positioned itself between the Tyros system and the approaching Urkel ships. In the meantime, drones hidden on nearby moons came online, each feeding data back to Ironheart. Each drone was old, cobbled together from Earth's early space days. But retrofitted with sharp eyes and smarter minds, Jason looked over at Laura. "Do we warn Earth?" Laura shook her head. "No, not yet. If this is a real invasion, Earth needs time." "We're the warning line, so we hit them here," Jason said, nodding slowly. Laura gave a small smile. "Yes, we hit them hard. And we make sure the ones who escape." "Tell the story." She turned toward the large viewing screen, where stars drifted slowly past. Somewhere beyond those stars, the Dominion was closing in. Confident and unaware, the bridge fell quiet, save for the hum of energy, rerouting, and the soft tapping of controls. In a quiet room deep inside Ironheart, a small group of engineers worked on the defense systems. One of them, a young tech named Ryan, looked up and asked, "Do you really think they'll come?" His partner Maria nodded. "They've already come. We just haven't seen what we have yet." A day later, sensors lit up. The Urkel ships had arrived at the edge of Tira space, just 3 vessels, but each twice the size of a human cruiser. Jason tapped the screen. They're scanning, slow and wide, trying to map everything. "Let them," Laura said calmly. "Give them just enough to make them greedy." The Dominion ships moved closer to the asteroid belt, where hidden turrets watched them. Quietly, Laura whispered, "Closer, ... Just a little more when the lead ship passed the largest asteroid. Laura gave a single word. Now, a silent signal fired from Ironheart. And the asteroid came alive. Cannons unfolded, and precision missiles launched without sound within moments. The first Urkel ship was ripped open, fire spilling into space. The others reacted fast, but not fast enough. The second was hit by an electromagnetic pulse, shutting down its main systems. The third turned to escape, but was caught by Ironheart's railgun, the shot piercing its hull from bow to stern. Jason stared at the screen, breathing hard. 3. Down, no escape signals. Laura nodded slowly. They'll send more now, bigger ones. We just told them this isn't empty space, Jason asked. Think they'll talk first? No, she said. They'll come angry, but that's good. Angry minds make mistakes. Ironheart returned to silent mode, drifting back into the shadows around them. Space was quiet again, but only for now. The real storm was still coming. Laura stood alone at the edge of the bridge, watching the stars. Let them come, she whispered. We've been waiting a long time. The Urkel Dominion did not pause to mourn their losses. They were not used to defeat, so when they lost contact with the scout fleet near Tyros 3, they assumed it was a malfunction, not destruction, back on their command ship. High Strategist Velkron ordered a larger response. 6 warships, fully armed, accompanied by troop carriers and scout drones. They were told to approach fast, strike fast, and report back. Tyros 3 was a forgotten rock in space, with weak gravity and no atmosphere. But deep beneath its surface, humans had built a hidden base. It had no city lights, no radio towers, no signs of life, just a cold, silent exterior hiding a deadly surprise. Captain Laura Mitchell stood in the command bay of Ironheart, her arms war-crossed, her eyes locked on the display showing the incoming fleet. Jason Cole looked worried. They've doubled their firepower. This isn't scouting anymore. It's an invasion. Let them come, Laura replied. Let them see what invasion costs. Ironheart remained cloaked, floating behind one of Tyros 3's jagged moons. All systems were ready. Drones patrolled silently. Satellites tracked enemy movement, and hidden mines lined the orbital path. Inside the Tyros base, ground crews loaded rail artillery, while the base had no traditional defenses. It had enough firepower to turn the entire surface into a trap. When the Urkel ships arrived, they spread into attack formation. Their scanners found nothing unusual. Their drones flew in circles, searching for targets that didn't appear. Velkron's lead cruiser hovered above the planet. Ready to drop landing forces, the troop carriers began descent. That's when the sky broke. A single satellite pinged its signal. And in seconds, chaos began. Dozens of mines exploded, hitting engines, fuel lines, and sensor nodes. The lead cruiser shook violently, losing control of its right flank. Then Ironheart appeared. It decloaked in full view. Hovering like a ghost made of steel and vengeance, its rail cannons fired first, slicing through a troop carrier and splitting it in half. Another shot destroyed a scout ship trying to flee. Jason cheered quietly. Direct hits, no lock-ons detected. Laura didn't smile. Keep us moving. Fire and disappear. Don't let them find our pattern. The Ironheart fired again, then shifted course, cloaking between shots. It became a phantom, impossible to trace. Meanwhile, on the surface of Tyros 3, the humans activated their second wave. Defense drones rose from hidden launchers, shooting into the sky. Each drone carried AI-designed targeting systems, unpredictable and fast. The ERCL ground forces barely had time to land before the drones arrived. Energy blasts lit up the surface, turning their landing zones into smoke and ash. One Urkel commander screamed into his radio, "Where are they? What is this?" There was no answer. Inside Ironheart, Jason watched as the enemy formation collapsed. Ships scattered, trying to regroup. Some fled back toward the edge of the system. Laura gave a soft command. Let a few go. Let them carry the fear with them. And the rest? Jason asked. We bury them here, she said. One final shot from Ironheart ripped through the heart of Velcron's cruiser. A blue explosion followed, quiet in space, but terrifying in size. The humans didn't cheer. They knew this wasn't victory yet. It was only the first blow. Back in Earth's hidden network, encrypted reports were sent to military minds. The galaxy had shifted. Humanity had made its first true stand. Tyros 3 was still silent on the outside, but now it whispered a story across the stars. A story that would spread quickly. The Dominion had arrived, expecting an easy win. Instead, they found the wrath of Earth, and the legend of Ironheart had only just begun. The silence after the battle was worse than the noise during it. Space around Tyros 3 was littered with burning wrecks, twisted metal, and drifting bodies. Most of the Urkel fleet had been destroyed or fled, but not all were gone. One large cruiser, damaged but alive, floated far from the main fight inside. Admiral Kezek stared at the burning view from the shattered bridge window. His hands were shaking. His race had never lost before. Not in a real war. What are they? He whispered. No one answered. He turned to the remaining officers. You saw how fast they struck, how well they hid, how their machines moved like they were alive. This is not a primitive species. He watched as drone footage played back on a cracked screen. Small human defense units had outmaneuvered genetically perfect Urkel soldiers. Their weapons adapted mid-fight, changing aim, changing pattern, as if they learned in real time on Ironheart. Captain Laura Mitchell watched the same footage. But with calm eyes, pull back our surface drones, she said. Let the survivors crawl away. Jason Cole looked up. We're letting them escape again. Yes, she said. Fear spreads faster than fire if they run home scared. Their leaders will think twice. They'll send something bigger, something angry, and we'll be ready. Jason nodded slowly. You're playing the long game. Laura glanced at him. We can't win with numbers, so we win with minds. Back on the wounded Urkel cruiser, Admiral Kezek recorded a message. His voice was calm but low, to high command. This was no simple failure, we've found. Something hidden on the edge of the galaxy, something cold and ancient. They call themselves human. But they are not like others. He paused. Their ship was called Ironheart, and it killed us before we even knew it was there. He ended the recording and gave orders. Send it out, encrypt it. Then shut down everything but life support. We float home, quietly, hours later. As the stars spun slowly, Kezek sat alone. In the dark, his pride shattered, his mission broken. He whispered, they will remember us. But not with fear, with warning. Meanwhile, Earth's defense network reviewed the battle logs. For the first time in over a century, humanity had fought a true alien threatened one. Secret meetings were held. Scientists studied wreckage collected by drones. Military minds debated. Some wanted to strike deeper. Some wanted to stay hidden. Laura was called into a secure holobriefing. A high-ranking general asked, "What do you suggest, Captain?" She answered clearly. We stay patient. They underestimated. U.S., now they'll overreact. That's when they'll be weakest. The general frowned. You want us to wait? I want us to watch, learn, and then strike again, she replied, not with noise, but with certainty. The meeting ended, and the decision was made. Ironheart would remain on the front. Hidden, mobile, and ready. Jason stood beside Laura. Later, looking at the growing map of possible Urkel routes, you think they'll send a full force next time? Laura didn't hesitate. Yes, and when they do, they'll bring everything they have. That's when we remind them we didn't survive Earth's wars to lose in space. From the quiet edge of the galaxy, the humans waited. The fire had been lit. The first real defeat of the Urkel had become a story. And stories have power. The next chapter would be written in fire and steel. The stars over Tyros 3 were quiet again. The fire of battle had burned out, leaving only cold silence and drifting ruins. What once was a proud Dominion fleet now floated as shattered metal across the void. Each piece told the same story, a warning. Captain Laura Mitchell stood on Ironheart's observation deck. Arms folded, her eyes scanned the debris. Watching a single escape pod drift away, no weapons, no signal, just a powerless shell floating. Into the dark, Jason Cole joined her, holding a data slate. That pod's life support is stable, one Arkel inside, no messages sent yet. Laura didn't look away. Let him go. He's our message. Jason raised an eyebrow. You sure that's wise? Absolutely, she said. Stories told by survivors cut deeper than any threat. Aboard the pod, a young Arkel officer floated in silence, fear gripping every muscle. He had seen everything, how the human ship disappeared and reappeared, like a ghost, how their weapons cut through Arkel armor like paper, how drones attacked without a pattern. He had begged to stay behind, to fight. But his commander had shoved him into the pod, whispering one thing, tell them what happened, make them listen. He gripped a recorder, voice trembling. We were wrong. They're not weak, not simple, not prey. They knew we were coming. They made us bleed. They call their ship Ironheart. Remember that name, for it is death in silence. Back on Ironheart, Laura gave her final order of the day. Prep the cruiser wreckage. I want one of their disabled ships pushed into open space. Paint a message on it. Make it visible from orbit. Jason blinked. A message. In English. In every language, she said, something even they can't misunderstand later. The battered remains of a Dominion cruiser were set adrift beyond Tyros 3. Painted across its exposed hull were the words, "This was your warning. Satellites insured." The image was recorded by every Arkel sensor within range. It wasn't just a statement. It was a declaration across the galaxy. Dominion-controlled worlds began hearing whispers. Soldiers spoke of a ghost fleet, of a human ship that hunted. Without mercy, of a system no longer safe. Some laughed, some doubted, but a few old veterans. Those who remembered the first conquests grew quiet in a dark hall of the Arkel High Command. The escaped officer stood trembling before the War Council. He repeated what he had seen. What? He had heard what had been carved into the wreckage. One of the elder commanders leaned forward. A human warship, you say? Yes, Lord, the officer said, voice shaking. They call it Ironheart, and it is no myth. There was silence, then quiet murmurs. Then one voice spoke above all others. Prepare the invasion fleet. If they want to fight in the shadows, we will. Bring the sun, far from the command chambers, back in the quiet black. Ironheart drifted slowly through space, still watching, still silent, its crew knowing the next wave would come harder. But Laura stood calm. She had made her move, not just in battle, but in the minds of the enemy. Fear had been planted, and in war, fear is the sharpest blade. A month passed, the galaxy did not rest. The Arkel Dominion had never been challenged like this before. For centuries, they expanded without question. Now, one nameless system, one silent ship had halted their pride. They responded in full hundreds of ships left Dominion space, each bristling with weapons and filled with elite warriors bred for war. Their fleet stretched across light years, escorted by battle stations and supply carriers. Their goal was simple: destroy the humans, erase Ironheart, and crush Earth before its people could rise. But Earth was not sleeping. In secret shipyards orbiting old moons and black dwarfs, human engineers worked without rest. New warships had been built in silence. Not massive like the Arkel cruisers, but clever, fast, and deadly. When the Dominion arrived at the edge of the Tyros sector, they found the stars waiting. It began with silence, then came movement. Dozens of human warships decloaked in a smooth arc, forming a wall of steel and fire. Ironheart was at the center. its hull repaired, its weapons charged, its crew ready. On the bridge, Captain Laura Mitchell stood tall, eyes focused forward. Enemy count confirmed. Jason Cole said, scanning the display. They're at least 10 times our number. Laura nodded. Then we fight 10 times smarter. A voice on the command channel echoed through every human ship. We are not the invaders. But we will not be invaded. Let this be the last time they forget what humanity is. The ERC struck. First, a wave of plasma fire swept across the void, but the human fleet was already moving. Ships twisting and dodging with unmatched precision. Ironheart fired a single round, and one Dominion cruiser erupted in flame behind the human line. Hidden satellites and drones activated traps set weeks before. Mines detonated, cutting off retreat, jamming signals, turning the battlefield into chaos. One by one, Dominion ships fell. Some collided, trying to escape. Others lost power. Overwhelmed by electronic warfare they couldn't understand, on the ground. Small human teams used experimental gear to block enemy landings before they even began. Every inch of the Tyro sector had become a battlefield designed by humans. Inside Ironheart, Jason laughed. They came with numbers. We came with preparation. Laura didn't smile, but her voice was steady. This is the end of their advance. Right here, right now. Hours passed. By the end of the day, the stars over Tyros were quiet again. The massive Dominion fleet had been shattered. Survivors fled into the dark, broken, and leaderless, from Earth to Mars. And across every hidden base, the message spread. Humanity had won. Not by overwhelming power, but by refusing to fall. Back on Ironheart, Laura watched the last of the enemy's signals disappear from the screen. Write it down, she told Jason. Make sure history remembers today. What should I call it? He asked. She turned slowly. Call it the day the galaxy changed, and far beyond Tyros. In halls of power and war, the name Ironheart echoed again. But now it came with fear. The age of easy conquest was over. The Tyros sector was quiet, but the galaxy was not. Across dozens of star systems, rumors spread like fire. Some said Earth had created a super-weapon. Others claimed the humans had summoned old gods from the void. No one could explain how a small species from a single blue planet had stopped the Dominion. In every bar, market, and command center, one name passed from mouth to mouth. Inside the Dominion capital, fear wore the face of anger. High lords pounded their fists, demanding revenge. But beneath their fury, cracks were showing. They had lost not just ships, but trust. Admiral Kezek, now recovered from his injuries, stood before the War Council once again. He no longer shook. You think we lost a battle? He said. But we lost more than that. We lost the illusion of invincibility. The hall fell silent. They don't fight like us, he continued. They don't play by rules. They adapt. They prepare. And worst of all, they think, back in the Tyro sector, Captain Laura Mitchell walked the corridors of Ironheart. Not as a victor, but as a soldier. Jason Cole met her at the war room, where maps of unknown star systems were pinned to digital boards. More movements on the edges, he said. Small probes, scouting missions, they're testing our reach. Let them. Laura replied, the more they look, the more they'll fear what they don't find. Earth's defense network authorized a new plan. Silent expansion. Small cloaked ships were sent to deep space, laying down listening posts and emergency bunkers. Human colonies were hidden, camouflaged, trained to disappear at the first sign. A threat, humanity wasn't building an empire. They were planting roots in the shadows, on a barren moon far from any map. A young girl named Mia helped her parents build a sensor relay. She looked up and asked, will they come again? Her father smiled softly. Yes, but when they do, we'll be ready. The galaxy was listening now. Merchant guilds rerouted their trade paths. Avoiding any sector close to Earth, minor empires paused their own wars, unsure if the humans might be. Watching a single warship had caused all of this inside Ironheart. Laura recorded a message for Earth's leaders. We are no longer the hidden ones. Our actions echo louder than our words. If we must be seen, then let us be seen as unbreakable. She paused. But if we are to lead in this galaxy, we must lead by more than fear. We must lead by the strength of who we are, not just soldiers, but survivors, builders, thinkers. Jason walked in, holding a new report. Another cruiser spotted on the edge of the Varelian drift, same markings as before. They're watching, Laura nodded. Then give them a show. Outside the ship, lights along Ironheart's hull shifted pattern, broadcasting in dozens of alien languages. One simple message: we are still here and somewhere in the stars. Eyes widened. The war wasn't over, but the fear had already begun to win. The stars had changed, not in their shape or color, but in their meaning. Every system once claimed by the Dominion now viewed space differently. They looked to the black sky and wondered if Ironheart was out there, watching, waiting, in a quiet sector near the Selvani Rift. A small Urkel supply ship drifted alone. Its crew wasn't military, just workers delivering resources. But when their scanners picked up a faint human signature, they panicked, they powered down weapons, they changed course. They broadcast a signal. We are unarmed. We mean no harm. Ironheart wasn't even near them. But the name alone was enough. On Earth, the secret was no longer a secret. Ironheart was no longer a myth hidden behind black files and silent orders. Children played with toy versions of the warship. Artists painted scenes of the battle at Tyros, but inside the halls of Earth's defense network, leaders worried. Captain Laura Mitchell sat in a private meeting with top officials. Her voice was calm but firm. This fear we've created can break empires, yes, but it can also isolate us. The more they fear us, the more they'll unite against us. One general asked, "What do you suggest? We hide again?" Laura shook her head. "No. We speak not just with ships, but with truth. Let them see we are strong, but let them also see we are human." Jason Cole entered with a message in hand. It's from the Urkel Outer Colonies. One of their governors is requesting talks, not about war, about trade. Everyone fell silent. "So it begins," Laura said quietly. "The next war isn't about weapons. It's about ideas, about connection." Weeks later, Ironheart arrived in a neutral system known as Galley Prime. Not for battle, but for dialogue. The ship landed slowly, carefully. Its guns powered down. Its message clear: we are open to peace. Thousands gathered, aliens of many kinds. They expected a machine of death, but they saw men and women, tired but proud. Human faces carrying the weight of a world that had learned to survive. Laura stepped out first, followed by Jason and the rest of her crew. They carried no weapons, just a message. The legend of Ironheart would live on, not just as a symbol of war, but as the first voice in a new chapter of the galaxy. And somewhere, deep in space, beyond the reach of maps, others watched in silence. Some still planned revenge. Others wondered if peace was finally possible. But all of them remembered one thing: humanity did not conquer the stars. They endured them, and that endurance had become something far greater than fear. It had become legacy.